come from the same coaching tree, although I was way earlier in the Ben Braun tree than he was. He was a late arrival. I was when the oak was just forming. So I just wanted to go out and talk to him for a minute. So I think, I'm proud of what our guys did. They took the punch. We keep overcoming. Should be noted that Day Grant didn't practice. He practiced one day, and then the last 2 days he didn't practice until today. He was so sick, but he played well. And Matoush didn't practice 2 days prior. So we had 7 guys in one day. So our guys just keep coming back and show resiliency. And when they came back on us again, our guys just hung in there. So that's encouraging.
Are you more encouraged by this win than you were a week ago when you struggled against North Florida?
They all count the same at the end of the day. We played better. We guarded the 3 line better. They have 3 high major transfers. I think Andre Kelly, I could be wrong. You can fact check me on this, but he was one of the best rebounders in the Pac-12 last year. And then Norris, played at Oregon, and St. Louis played at Temple. So they've got high quality players. And then the freshman of the year in the league last year, the point guard. We just tried to stay at them and try to wear them down. Even though we don't really have a lot of guys, we had more than they did, I thought. So
Keith,
it was encouraging.
I'm sorry, Keith. When you guys go on a break of any kind, there's always the worry that maybe the play's not as sharp, the mind's not as sharp. Just what did you like about the instant buy-in that the guys were in and understood what the mission was tonight?
I just think they're a close-knit group. And it starts with the little guy. The little guy, he just leads them. He doesn't play all that much, but he leads them every second of every minute of every game, of every practice, and they like him. They follow him, which he's the youngest guy on our team, but he leads them. And then that camaraderie is contagious, and that enthusiasm is contagious. So, it can go the other direction when you don't have that kind of camaraderie. But, so far our guys have been really good together. Like we sat Tevin, till about the 3-minute mark, just trying to get him rested for the home stretch. And Kareem allows you to do that because he doesn't mistake you to death. So, and then we use McGriff. We've got some good players. We just have to keep developing. We still have a lot to learn, but we made some strides.
Coach, you guys were near the bottom nationally in 3-point defense going into this game. You gave up just 3 today. Is there something that you were focusing on differently in the game plan or in practice, or was it a matter of the guys playing differently?
I don't know. I seem like I coach them the same way every day. And I think, Dave, 3 years ago we were in the top 20 in the country in 3-point field goal percentage defense, and last year we had the worst numbers of my career. So I'm a little more concerned with how many versus the percentage. Although, you don't want to see a high percentage, but how many is more important than the percentage in my mind. So we did a better job. I thought North Florida shot it really good against us. Colgate shot it really good against us. Some of it was bad defense, but some of it was just good shooting. It's kind of like what Day-Day's doing to people, He's making open ones, but he's making some with guys draped on them too. So sometimes you just got to applaud the offense.
Keith, you held Kelly and Mitchell to 24 combined. These are 2 guys that can score pretty frequently. What was the mindset of trying to stop those 2 coming into this game?
Well, with Kelly, we knew that basically he's really their only ball handler, right? He was involved in 40% of their scores. So we tried to just tire him. And, had we been able to keep Trey Clark on him a little bit more, I thought he frustrated him early, but we couldn't keep him in the game, which we have to do a better job of keeping Trey in the game because I think he bothered him. And then Kelly, he got away from us a little bit, I thought, where we didn't double him. We should have doubled him more. We just didn't get to it. but we didn't give them too many easy ones. Then we did a good job on Norris on the 3 line, which is a big key.
You got Dixon, 12, 4, 3 steals, and no turnovers. I mean, this kid thrust into the opportunity. Just what are you seeing from Dixon that allows him to grow so much so quickly?
Well, he's a great talent. You know, he's got to rebound the ball at a higher rate, but part of that is just second jump and fatigue. You know, you can't defend the rim, and he's an unbelievable athlete vertically. So he's hard. He's really good when he's fresh. You know, and he's got an opportunity. He's taking advantage. You know, had Reese not got hurt, he probably wouldn't have got that opportunity, or wouldn't have got as good an opportunity. And he's taking advantage. So now he's hard to keep out. You know, because he does some good things. He's got to guard the ball better. And he'll do some doozies, but he'll do some doozies both directions. So you got to like what he's doing.
I want to ask you about day-to-day shooting because we're running out of stuff to say about it. But that defensive effort, those 3 steals in the second half, just what kind of lift was that, knowing that they were starting to trim that lead down, and he comes up with a couple big plays in a short span?
Day-Day's been really coachable, and we've been trying to make him more complete. Not just a shooter, not just just a big-time guard, and he's been coachable. He's done whatever we've asked him to do. He's been a good teammate, and he's consistently put the ball in the basket. Which is hard to do. Like the only game he didn't really put it in was Kentucky, and that was a little early in our time. So, he's been scoring it at a pretty high clip, maybe the best that I've ever had as far as consistency scoring in those mid-20s.
26 more minutes from Rotroff, 7 and 8, 3 more offensive rebounds. And I know you talked about this early in the season. You weren't trying to use him that much because you could try to avoid it. But you've gotten a chance to do that here. He just continues to contribute. How do you try to walk that line with maybe pushing him too hard?
I didn't have a choice. We couldn't really play small because they're playing so big out there. And he's the best rebounder we have, and we struggle sometimes to rebound the ball. So he's gonna let me know if he's sore, but he's a perfect example of a guy that's an all-star at what he does. He's just good at what he does, and he doesn't do anything that he can't do. And it's a lesson for a lot of guys because a lot of guys try to do things they can't do, and they look bad doing it. But he's really good at what he does.
Big picture-wise, is the team on the right trajectory that you expected at this point in the season?
We are today. You know how fragile this stuff can be. Look, I have no reason to think that this team won't win. Why would I? We've withstood everything that we can withstand. I guess not everything. We don't know yet. But we've had injuries. We've had sickness. We've had, they just keep coming every day and get along and do what we ask them to do. So can we win big in the league? We'll find out. We'll find out if we can. The key is going to be how much better you can get every single day. That's going to be the key for us. But one thing's for sure: we've shown we can shoot the ball, we can pass the ball. Right? It's consistent. It's been consistent all year long, and that's a pretty good defensive team if you look at their numbers. And we still put the ball in the basket.
What does matching last season's win total in 1 month mean to you?
That means we sucked last year. 6 wins, what the hell? You're supposed to be able to do that, right?
But in 1 month.
I don't even want to talk about last year, Jerry. You had to remind me of that. I'm trying to enjoy the game, the win. You had to remind me of those 6 rotten wins last year. But hey, again, I give our staff a lot of credit. They retooled it. They got us that they did the 3 things that we needed to do. And I think we're going to be competitive. I don't know how competitive, but I think we're pretty competitive.
Trey mentioned maybe 3 or 4 different times when he was in here about just keeping fighting. Everybody just keep fighting every time they're out here. How have you seen that continue to develop with these guys, knowing that they're facing an uphill battle, picked to finish last in the conference, but they're continuing that fight every time they back out on the floor?
I don't think they believe that stuff. You know, people can pick you anywhere they want to pick you, but we don't have to believe it, right? I don't think our guys believe that they're bad. I think they think they're pretty good, you know, and I mean, they haven't made any excuses. We've had the next man up mentality. You know, we've had some rough moments individually and collectively, but they keep bouncing back. We know where we have to make improvement. We talked about it, like, you know, we're way up high in our defensive, our defensive efficiency. So we know we got to get below 100 if we're going to be good enough to compete at the highest level. And we got to keep putting the ball in the basket. But I think we have a good mix. We can shoot from outside and we can score some inside. You know, and I think we'll continue to score inside as we continue to play less minutes. You know, and so I don't think they believe anything about that poll. I mean, nobody knows, you know. You don't have to like it. You can use it to motivate yourself, but I don't think we're the worst team in the league. We'll see, though. I'd be surprised.
What was your reaction watching Day take that shot that Circus won in the third quarter and then seeing it go in?
The one thing I'll tell you about coaching is there's some guys that can coach average players and make them pretty good, and there's some guys that can coach great players but can't coach average players. But when you have a guy that can score the ball, you gotta let him loose, right? So he may take a bad one or two, or maybe they're not bad ones. It's kind of like Steph Curry. Like, are they really bad ones? So as long as the numbers say what the numbers say, then there are no bad ones. There's only better ones. So, I mean, he's been a handful. You better not give him an inch, because it gets up there quick. Better than I thought. Like, look, I thought I saw a lot of tape on him, but he's been better than advertised. All the way around, been a really unbelievable person too. Like, really good.
Coach, you talked last time about Rozier coming to you, talking about how you guys had a rough practice before the game. Just to follow up on that, how's practice been the past few days, and just overall this season, compared especially to the last couple of years?
We're more consistent in practice, just attitudinally. You know, there's very few times I've had to prod them to practice hard. We do some dumb things sometimes, but like they try to do exactly what we tell them to do, which is refreshing. You know, it makes it fun. You can get better. You can progress. And again, like it's contagious. You know, they're like, if you don't act like that with this group, you're an outlier. Or you're an outlier the other way if you have guys that aren't that way. Makes sense, right? Like you're an outlier here if you don't care about winning. And so just snowballs to that effect, right? I mean, and I think that's why there's a lot of hope for him. It's not always the best players. Like, you have to have good players, don't get me wrong. But like, you look at Kareem, like, what's he got? 17 assists and 1 turnover. Like, I wouldn't say he's a first team all league player right now, but he might be the best backup point guard in the league with those numbers. Or maybe he isn't, but those numbers indicate that he's pretty good. 17-1 is the best I've ever had. And again, it's not doing anything flashy. It's all simple. You know, and he's going to get a lot better too. He's just a young puppy. But, you know, playing with Brewer's been great. Those guys have been great with one another. You know, there's no, they like each other, even though they compete against each other every day. McGriff's been good too. McGriff's the same way. Like, we took McGriff out of the starting lineup. He played pretty good as a starter. But he's a good substitute because he puts the ball in the basket. He's a good offensive player. He's got to get better at some things, but he's been really good too. So, you know, it's not just the transfers. The young kids have played good. And Matoush too. Matoush is, you know, we chopped him a little bit, but he's been a little sick. But he's a good young player too.
So far defensively against teams that lack multiple ball handlers like Montana and UC Santa Barbara, defensively you guys have played well. But then on the other hand, against Colgate, North Florida, who has multiple guys that can pass it's been a struggle. Is that something that you guys as staff will have to work on when it comes to overall perimeter defense, or is that just an early anomaly?
We have to guard the ball better. I mean, we have moments we don't guard the ball very well. You know, I don't know. I feel like Colgate and North Florida were similar to the other teams. You know, I mean, Pierre Louis, man, he's hard to keep in front of too. You know, so we just have to guard the ball better, and then we have to be fresher inside where we can come a block. And then we have to jump more than once, you know, because we got to go get the second shot when we come a block. Those are areas I thought the first half we played a little better than the second half. But I think, is it an anomaly? No, but it's something we have to get better at. And that's the one thing you have to do as a coach or a businessman, or if you run an organization, is you have to self-evaluate even when you win. Maybe more so. You know, it's pretty obvious when you lose, but when you win, there's still issues that if you don't clean up, it'll catch you down the line. And so that's what we're trying to do on a daily basis. We knew we had to guard the 3-line better, and tonight, because we guarded the 3-line, we won the game. Had we not guarded the 3-line, we wouldn't have won the game.
How big of a confidence booster is it, considering that your front court, despite being depleted, effectively matched your front court, which has a couple of former Pac-12 players in overall production?
Tells you the depth. You know, it's not going to be easy when those guys come back. That becomes even more difficult, right? Like then it becomes a juggling act as to, you know, how we keep everybody happy. So right now we have pretty good camaraderie because, you know, most of them are playing. But at some point, like, everybody get cut back a little bit, so it'll be interesting. But it also should push you to higher standards, because you have to play good or you won't play. Right? Now that puts pressure on people, but pressure's good. Right? Pressure makes you better. So if you get beat off the dribble, then somebody else is going to get in. So, but they've been good. They've been really good to coach. Our staff's done a good job with them. You know, we've been hard on them, but we've given a lot of love too. Like, we've been really pretty hard on David Dixon, for instance, but we've also told him why we're being hard on him, because he's got a huge upside. So we're cheating him if we're not hard on him.
Coach, it seems like Trey Williams has been getting the ball a little bit more often in crunch time than he does kind of just throughout the duration of the game. And one play specifically still stands out to me. You guys came out of a timeout, the lead had been cut to 4, and you got a lob into him in the paint, he got fouled and made them both. Is that a deliberate effort? Do you see him as kind of a steadying force, or is that something that's kind of just happening naturally with your guards?
Well, they got back in the game throwing the ball inside, and you have to be a balanced team in order to win, and we have to be able to score inside. So we made a concerted effort to throw him the ball during those time periods. We ran 3 plays in a row right at him. You know, because at times you can't rely on the perimeter. You have to get to the paint one of 2 ways. Either you have to drive it there or you have to throw it there. And so we chose to throw it there during those times. And it helped us. It got us back up to a reasonable number. Had Trey Clark hit 2 threes that Trey threw out, the game would have got busted open a little earlier.
You guys don't play until Saturday, and Joe Reese didn't have a boot on his foot coming into the game. Is there a chance that he could play this weekend? Because you mentioned that you had an encouraging update last press conference on it.
I don't know. That's a good question. He hasn't done anything really live yet, and it was a bad ankle sprain. We're hoping he can play Saturday, but I don't know for sure. I don't know. Like, I think he can move up and down. I just don't know if he can cut yet. And now they have a good center, so, like, it'd be nice to get him out there a little bit, but I don't know. I'd say it's a 40-60, 30-70. I wouldn't count on it. And we have to be careful with it too. You know, there's no sense in rushing him and then have it linger all year long.
those results like tonight, considering the front court the Gauchos had, to sort of play into it where it's like we don't have to rush them back because we know the bigs we do have can get the job done?
As long as we stay out of foul trouble, we stay out of foul trouble and they keep playing at that level, which I have no reason to think David won't continue to develop. We know pretty much what Rotrop's going to do, and if we have to, we could play Trey Williams over there, but we really don't have a four-man right now. That's why the whole thing is complex, because of RJ and Kevin, really, right? We really don't have another four-man. We can play small against teams that don't have a big four. But the biggest thing is we got to get Matoush to rebound the ball a little bit better. I mean, he's big enough, he should rebound the ball. And then if we can get him to rebound the ball a little bit better, now we're big enough because he's 6'8". So that's probably what we've been missing is we don't have that stretchability that we had with RJ and Easley, which makes teams have to change how they prepare for you as well. Like sometimes we can pound it into Trey Williams at the 4, and then other times we can stretch out with those other guys at the 4. Like RJ busted the one game open here when he made 2 threes, boom, boom, at the end of the half. That gives our guards more penetration room. And so that's probably what we're missing a little bit. Now Dixon's capable to shoot the ball. We don't want him shooting a lot of them right now, but he thinks he can make them, which is half the battle.
Earlier tonight, Davidson lost at home to Charlotte, and there's been a fair amount of losses throughout the A-10 play. You guys statistically are going to be viewed as favorites throughout the rest of the non-conference at home. How do you keep the team sort of alert to not avoid those pitfalls of not coming up for games when now going forward they're going to be expected to win?
We're not good enough not to play hard. I mean, we just don't. We're not that type of team. Like we have to gut out everything right now, and we got a lot of guys that have a lot to prove, like Day and Tevin. They want to win at this level. They haven't won at the level that they want to win at in college basketball. So when you care about like being a good player and a good team, you have less pitfalls, right? And I mean, we're gonna have a night where we're not very good, and we're just gonna have to gut it out and win. You have to win those games that get close where you're not gonna have a great season. So they haven't shown any signs that they're gonna not compete. Now again, we're gonna have a night where we're not very good, and it may appear like we didn't compete, but it may be just we weren't very good. Or there's gonna be a night where we just don't have it. We've all seen that too, right? Like, so you just gotta figure out ways to win.
You have 2 JUCO transfers who played the national title game, but all the D1 transfers came on teams that were at bottom of their respective conferences. How do you bring players that were in sort of losing environments on a team that was a losing environment itself and sort of turn it all around and make a winning culture?
I told you how the little guy rallies the troops and tells them how good they are and how motivated they got to be every single day. Like he told Quincy McGriff today, hey, from now on you're going to come to the game with me. You're going to get here at 5 and you're going to go through my routine. Like it just doesn't happen anymore, and they all like it. So I think there's a lot to be said for that camaraderie. And there's a lot to be said that if you don't have that camaraderie, it's hard to win. The good teams in the country have it. Like they have good players, but they also have it, right? And if you have jealousy and there's always going to be moments where you lose your way, and that's what we have to keep reminding them of. Like, hey, that wasn't, like I told Q today, the 3 ball off the dribble, that's a bad shot, Q. Now he's capable of making some of those, don't get me wrong, but he needs to leave those alone right now until he shoots at a higher clip. Now Day, he can shoot them because he's earned it. Now I want Q shooting the ball, don't get me wrong. Like I feel like he's a good scorer. I think he could be the next big scorer. But I don't want him taking tough threes off the dribble right now. I want catch and shoot threes, getting to the lane, using his passing ability. You know, that's where that fine line between allowing guys to play and teaching them what's a good play for him. But eventually he'll be like Day-Day, he'll shoot all of those, but not now.
Is there a freshman in throughout your coaching history, including Akron, that you would have a freshman coming off the bench that you have had much confidence in that you had in Rozier when you guys went from a 14 to 4-point lead, and not take him out and put Brewer in there because you didn't make that move?
I've had players like him, and two of them are on my staff. Like Terry Wygams, he didn't come off the bench for me. He started as a freshman. And then Drew, you know, those guys just figure out ways to win. They're just tough, winning. And probably because they couldn't do as much as some of the other guys when they first started, right? They kept it simple and just made winning plays. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the second time it's happened now, right, where we kept Rozier in, and then we brought Tevin back. We did it against North Florida too, right, I think. Just feel. You got to trust your guys. Like, McGriff made a bad defensive play today, but I still trust him. And those are things we have to teach him. You know, like, he gave up the 3-ball. You can't give up the 3-ball at that time, right? But you have to teach him. Because I felt like McGriff was good to have in the game because he's an extra ball handler, an extra shooter. It's good to have him in the game. And Matusch's the same way. I just think McGriff's oblivious. He's just so confident in himself, whereas Matusch is a little too smart for his own good. McGriff is like oblivious to pressure. He just thinks he's good as hell, which is, he is. He's good. He's a talented guy. But again, like, I kind of just coach by feel, you know, like, I just felt like Rozier was going to help us at that point. And he's proven himself already. He's done it already. And then when we get a little stale offensively, I put Brewer back in. Because Kareem can't do as much as Tevin can. Like when plays break down and things. Good?